Hey, welcome to day 27 of 31 days of essential oils. My name is Tammy. I'm your mentor and guide along this journey. I cannot believe that we're just a few days away from the end of this little sequence of videos, but just know I'm not going to stop here. I am going to do a series on blending, so stay tuned for that. If there's other questions that I actually may keep going. I just might keep just trekking along with a whole nother month of oils. Um, but before I do that though, I want to get caught up on the blogs for this series. So there will be a little bit of a break. I'm not just going to hit you up right away. Like I said, more towards the middle to the end of May, I'll do a series on blending, but I really do want to get these blogs complete. If you've been with me this whole time, just know how much I appreciate your input, your feedback, uh, your compliments, your acknowledgments, and your sharing, and so forth. So, yeah, it's been a very meaningful experience for me. For those of you who are just tuning in, check it out. We have got a lot of information about all different types of oils. What you get here in the videos is my perspective of the use of oils. It comes to you after 30 years. I do not rep any company. I am independent researcher, um, professional aromatherapist, internationally certified master clinical aromatherapist to be exact. I've turned it into what I call aromatologist, just because this is very scientific. It really is. This is so much more than Bath and Body, and Um, after 30 years, I did start out just simply using them for symptom relief because they're freaking cool. I mean, we just have these really amazing implements to facilitate a better health. It doesn't involve a lot of unnecessary chemicals and inactive ingredients because the essential oils are 100% active. And at the same time, they're chemicals. The world is a chemistry lab, as I mentioned in the video from yesterday. But that said, it's important. So what I do is I share here is my experience with them, how I've applied them. Um, I know there's a lot of information written out there in books, but just keep in mind that the books are pretty generalized when it comes to how these oils actually work with the system. I mean, and what I mean by that is like you can read like it's good for the respiratory system, or it's good for a cough, or it's good for digestion. There's just these generalized properties. And my point is that a good example is anxiety. Okay, you can read something. Well, it's great for anxiety, but anxiety can be triggered by any number of things. It can actually be fatigued adrenal glands, which means it's just defaulted to the thyroid gland, and an overactive thyroid gland will begin to the thyroid hormone is indicated. I actually did a blog on that, the chemistry of anxiety, which you can find on my ultimate guide. So there's a whole number of reasons why we might find ourselves with anxiety. So just to select an oil because it says it's good for anxiety doesn't make it good for anxiety. It just means that it may not be good for your anxiety. Let me put it that way. It's not that it doesn't have a calming quality to it, but what's going on with you might be that you're not grounded, in which case I would suggest either vetiver or myrrh. So understanding what's going on with our system and how these oils affect us, that's kind of what I'm going here. It's like I try to give you more specific things as best I can. And again, no health condition is the same, regardless if it has the same title. So if you just talk about high blood pressure, there's a whole number of reasons. Again, just like anxiety. That's Namira. I meant to announce that dogs may be walking in and out. Um, so like with blood pressure, again, different hormones could be involved. It could actually be anxiety causing your high blood pressure. So just to select something based on a generalized description doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be beneficial for the individual because there's a number of things going on. And so when I've done personal consults, I really try to help people kind of identify. I listen and I tune in and I kind of hear what's going on with them, and then I can begin to assess what's best for them. And really, what I'm trying to do here and this will also be involved, this is where we'll get into this in videos here, is really to help you begin to distinguish what is actually happening in your system. So this is going to be a very long process. If you haven't heard me say it in other videos, I'm pretty sure I did, but if you haven't, or maybe I didn't, so just to make sure, that my calling is to teach this. That's my calling, but I'm not going to sell it. I'm just giving it to you because helping people identify and understand more or less their chemistry helps us to begin to determine which oils are best for us. That's really what this is all about. And so even though I'm doing specific oils right now, we can get into more specific things and begin to dissect, if you will. I have a group it's a closed group on Facebook that is a course. If you would like to check it out, it doesn't cost anything. I set it up to be a course, and there's a few people that actually did contribute to being in there, but I'm not making that. That's no longer. I'm done selling it. I just don't want to. And so if you want to be a part of that, email me, Tammy@synergessence.com, and let me know that you want to be a part of it, and I'll add you. The reason it's closed is basically because I just don't want public conversations going on. Because when we start talking about health, things do get kind of private. Like I said, there's a couple of people that are in there that have actually paid for the course. It is and I promise them lifetime information, and that's really what my promise is to you. And so if we can begin to get more of a group of people over there, we can just kind of keep it all over there. But at the same time, I really want to make this public information. So I've said enough on that. So if you're new, thank you for being here. Please subscribe, please share, go check out the blogs. Link is in the box below. And how else do I want to say? What I do write about in the blogs is it does get pretty technical. I do my best to keep it as understandable as possible. But I get very specific about the plant constituents because, again, I'm fascinated by the chemistry, and the plant constituents are being studied extensively. And I pay attention to that. That's my research, because then at that point I pay attention to how they relate to how they affect human health and the way they're currently being used for drug development, as well as other products. They're not just going into drugs, they're going into personal care, food, household products, and so forth. So really understanding this and providing you with this information is what my mission is. Because again, the more healthy we can, the more information that we have, the better equipped we are to begin to make more effective decisions that serve our health as well as the health of our children. I think there's a tide is turning, if you will, in healthcare, given the amount of chemicals that we have on the planet that are not of natural occurrence. So they are affecting us. They affect every aspect of nature. The human difference is that we have a mind and we have emotions that are compounding the problem. And I kind of wrote a little bit about that yesterday as well, and controlling the uncontrollable stress, because it's not controllable, but we have ability here. So talking about chemicals, I want to talk about lemon today. It makes me a little nervous because lemon seems to be a fairly benign, popular oil. People like citrus. It's uplifting, right? It's food, right? But the fact is that it's great antiseptic. It's really great on the skin. I like it for helping to move fluids, if there's edema involved. I have also shied away from it when you've got potentially somebody who is demonstrating low dopamine levels, and that would be a movement disorder like Parkinson's. The reason why is because it's been determined that some of the constituents in lemon actually hasten the oxidation of dopamine. And although it can have an uplifting, it's kind of like lavender. You know, lavender has that calming effect, but at the same time, the long-term effect is estrogenic, and so it can create an excitability in the body that's detrimental to what we're looking for. It's the exact opposite of what we're looking for. The same thing can be said for lemon. While it does have an uplifting quality to it, that would be the short-term effect. The long-term effect in this case is it does hasten the oxidation of dopamine, and that's significant because with the presence of heavy metals in the air, or in our environment rather, dopamine is rapidly being oxidized in order to house or in order to store essential oil. I mean, oh gosh, oh my goodness, it's being used to store heavy metals in the brain. The area would be called the substantia nigra. And if it's already, you know, if especially depending on where we live, if we live in an area that has got a lot of heavy metals, where there's paper mills and there's a lot of car emissions and chemical plant, you know, I'm just thinking right now, truthfully, on the East Coast, but it can be anywhere heavily populated areas. That would be a reason why I would avoid using lemon, because your chances are, and especially if there's any kind of, you know, Tourette's, you know, other movement disorders, Parkinson's and so forth, if you have any of that potential in your family, you really want to minimize your use of lemon essential oil. That's pretty much what I wanted to say about this. I mean, to me, I could have written about this, and I will write more about it, like I said on the blog, but I feel like this is an important message to come out because we are seeing an increase in movement disorders. And the reason for that, I believe, is due to the amount of heavy metals in our environment. And the body has to, like I said, it has to oxidize the dopamine in order. So what that means is it's converting dopamine into a different chemical in order to house the heavy metals in the brain. So, yeah, minimizing your use of oil. And I'm just thinking, again, it's great if you wanted to diffuse it in the air, okay? If if you're looking to maybe eliminate some odors from the house and you want to add lemon into your a diffuser and minimally put a couple of drops and diffuse it. And if it's in the air, it's going to have less of an impact on you, but I don't recommend really using it all too often on your skin, although it even is good for the skin. I mean, occasionally. And I would double check on the blog to see if this is more of a match for you or not. Otherwise, you know, I'm trying to think of other, yeah, I guess I'm hesitating because I really have avoided using lemon and I've actually, here's where I will tell you I've used lemon. So aside from everything I've just said, I have actually used lemon for maybe people who like ADHD, okay, or attention deficit disorder. ADD, ADHD would be two areas where I would consider using lemon because, and even with schizophrenia. And the reason for that is because in the studies and the lectures that I've sat in on at Stanford regarding schizophrenia specifically, and to me, in my opinion, this is just my professional opinion, based on the behaviors. I mean, you have you know, there's a spectrum, right? We talk about a spectrum all the time with autism, but I feel like schizophrenia is, and in fact, I would even use this with autism, lemon. So autism, ADD, ADHD, and schizophrenia. Along that spectrum, what they're finding is, like I said, I sat in on these lectures, and the concern is obviously a fluctuation in neurochemistry. But oftentimes they're finding that there's too much dopamine in the brain, especially with schizophrenia. I mean, that would be one. Serotonin is another one, depending, again, on your symptoms. So if there's a lot of repetitive behavior, you know, like scripting and stimming, just a lot of the repetitive type of behavior you could actually use lemon for that, because it'll help reduce that, because that behavior perpetuates the dopamine levels. Okay, that's an addictive type of behavior, and we're looking at that. And when you're looking at it at that level, including oil helps to minimize that dopamine load, if you will, because it's becoming an aggravant. It's actually causing almost like an anxiety. And so in that case, the lemon would help in that. Again, another reason, or another way anxiety kind of sets in when you see something like that. So those are the types of cases that I would, in fact, if you're going to, I'm just going to tell you this right here, right now, for things like ADHD, a good blend of lemon and benzoin styrax is really kind of helps to ground and soothe and assist with the dopamine norepinephrine conversion. And now we're getting into a lot of the chemistry here, but that's kind of, and again, you don't, even if you are, so I want to make sure I'm real clear about this. Even if that's what you choose to do, don't stick with it for more than 4 to 6 weeks at a time, okay? You don't want to fool with these chemicals specifically over a long period of time. So if your concern is that there may be too much dopamine in the brain and you're trying to help reduce that, okay, I get it. But don't do it forever, please, okay, because then you're just going to create an instability somewhere else. This is the problem with medications. Medications are so targeted in their mechanism of action that if we're constantly taking them for this point over here, but then this starts to get whacked out. And so now the body, and this is the reason why including oils with medications, when we're aware that what oils we're using, because some of them do clash, right? So if we make a mindful decision to include oils that offer stability and offset this targeted mechanism over here of this med, now we can kind of, we're not creating, it's not as potentially harmful, okay? That, again, so to use lemon oil all the time for those types of conditions, just bear in mind that even though these things are labeled as diseases and disorders, that this is just the body's way of having had adapted to the environment. Okay, so there's changes to the transcription factors and so forth, which means it's altered the way the chemistry is being produced. If we go in there and fool with it too specifically for too long, we're going to create an imbalance somewhere. It's going to appear like an imbalance, but it's going to be more of an instability, and you're going to see something happening over here. And we're going to bring on a whole nother set of symptoms, just like with medications. So these are the things that you want to be careful of. Okay, this is another reason why having kind of an assortment of single note oils around, so that you can begin to use different ones at different times, and that way you're not constantly doing the same thing, because keep in mind the chemistry in your body is changing every single day with or without oils, just because it's reacting to the environment and your lifestyle. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. If not, let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Again, email me, tammy@synergessence.com. If you want to be a part of that group, I'll send you the link. And the description box has a link to the blogs over on synergessence.com. And thank you for being here. I really do appreciate you.